What is going on, guys? This is video number 3. We're going to be talking about mental health, what it actually meant to me, depression, anxiety, drinking problem, all that stuff, just a history and backstory, and then kind of where I'm at now with all of it. So, in a previous video, I'd mentioned I'm first generation American. Both my parents are from South India. And outside of first world countries, mental health isn't a real thing. You don't sit there and talk about your feelings, or if you're sad, if you're upset, if any of those things are going on. It's pretty much how's school going, and that was really it. Just a couple laughs here and there, and that was most of that time. I started getting depression around the age of 13, going on, yeah, just around the age of 13. And that was that was my freshman year of high school. A little backstory to that is I grew up in Brooklyn. I was born. Lived in Brooklyn till I was about in the fourth grade. Then in the end of eighth grade, going into high school, I moved back to Brooklyn. So the depression hit when I have none of my friends around. This wasn't like an age of, it's not like how it is now where everybody has cell phones and things like that. Like there was Nokia brick was a very expensive phone to get when I was going into high school. So technology wasn't what it was, so you can't keep up with friends. Back then, AIM was barely becoming a thing to my generation. So there was no communication. So I kind of just left in the summer and then I just came to Brooklyn and didn't see anyone, talk to anyone, anything like that. I think we had MySpace back then. So just, occasionally post on someone's wall, but that was really about it. So that's when depression started. I started drinking halfway through that year because I would always feel sad. I would always feel like there was a cloud around me. And when I drank, it felt like it wasn't there anymore. So I started drinking around that age. My dad's side of the family were all like, or where we like to drink and have fun. So, cousins, parties, stuff like that. I was drinking with them, by the time I was that age, 13, 14, in that neighborhood. I started smoking when I was probably a year after. So around 14, 15, I started smoking and I started smoking excessively. So to me, I preferred smoking over drinking for a couple years. And that was just because it would just feel like the pain is numb at that point. You're not getting that crippling feeling of anxiety, of going out doing things. Like there was a lot of random pressures. So I didn't grow up in Brooklyn for a few years before that. So when I came to Brooklyn, I didn't fit in that much because I was a skater kid. So imagine like Etnies, DC, stuff like that. And I'm going into a Brooklyn high school where it's like Jordans and, just whatever brands were Echo and stuff like that. And also my parents didn't have money like that. So it wasn't like we were just had a bunch of money and I can just dress cool like day one or even know what that meant. So it led to a lot of me not fitting in. And then I met a couple of people during that time and they would like, tell me, let's just leave. I had to stay until eighth period, my 10th period, my freshman year. So they'd be like, oh, it's 1, 2 periods. Let's just leave after eighth and go smoke. So that's kind of just how I got into that. I'm not saying my friends were terrible people back then, but it was just more of what we did. So that all led to like the middle of sophomore year. I basically just stopped going to school. I want to say they took attendance at third period. So if you missed that third period, then they would call your house and be like, oh, they missed attendance. So, but if you were there, they would never call your house. So for about a year and a half to 2 years, I would go in third period and then leave fifth period because that was also the time that truancy would be out. So during that time, I would try to talk to my guidance counselor and just schedule, one random class, a gym, and then lunch, and then just go out. And from there, it would be literally go grab like, 240s and then, or, back then Four Loco was a huge thing. So we would grab 2 4 Locos. We'd go to the hood and just literally, what was it back then? We'd go to Sunset Park and just have two of those on a rooftop and chill. And then I'd go home at like the normal school time I was supposed to be home at, which was like 3:34. Hop on Xbox, and that was it. I wasn't a very studious person, but I was very smart. A lot of the things that I learned in school in Jersey is what my freshman, sophomore, and junior classes were learning in Brooklyn. So I kind of knew a lot of the material already, so I was already getting bored in there. So that led to me getting left behind almost about half a year. So the math wise, I missed like a year and a half of school and I made it up in half a year. I graduated a half a year late past what I should have graduated. But those were just kind of the things like, normal pressures of that, not being able to talk about depression. I would have anxiety just going to school because I didn't want to be there because I was bored. I didn't really like, I always felt like a person that, like, no matter how many people were around me, I always felt alone. So it didn't matter if that was with, back then I used to go to church every now and then. So it didn't matter if I was with church people, I was with my own friends. I just like to be in my own world. And like, that's just how I felt. So after that, I continued to drink. It wasn't as bad as it was in high school. Like high school, it was almost an everyday thing that I was drinking. We go to, college years. Basically, there was a lot of, when I started college to like a certain point, there was a lot of toxic women in my life. Like I'm a very sweet, take care of type of person, and my aesthetic doesn't show that. So if you ever see me on the street, I don't look like that. So I was taken advantage. I was taken advantage of a few times, and then I got to this place, maybe like a year into college, where it was just like I didn't know if I was worth anything if I didn't do or provide for people, if I couldn't be useful for people. So that was pressure that was added onto me, and that like declined my mental health, right? So I attached being loved as only something that someone could do if I'm continually and constantly making sure that they're good or doing for them. Like unconditional love wasn't a real feeling that I felt. So I would always try to provide unconditional love, hoping that I could receive unconditional love. So during my college years, the depression hit again. So I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to do anything. So I was in two colleges. I did associate's degree in Brooklyn and I did my bachelor's degree in Long Island. And it took almost 8 years to complete both of those together. But essentially, in both schools, when I got hit, like when I was going through those depressive states, my GPA dropped to like a 1.4. And in both schools, I was on academic probation. So I think in Brooklyn, in Kingsborough, I was at like a 1.2 or a 1.4. And when I went to Farmingdale out here, I think my GPA dropped to like a 1.7 and I got put on academic probation at both schools. The craziest part about both of that is by the time I graduated both schools for my associates and my bachelor's, I made dean's list at both schools. So I went from taking that GPA from literally dog water to bringing it back up to a much healthier place. So I kept drinking during that time frame and I kept smoking during that time frame. And I fully gave up like drinking alcohol because I knew that it was something that was detrimental to my health. I couldn't deal with problems if I always wanted to just be numb. So I gave up alcohol around the age of, when I say gave up, I mean I just stopped drinking excessively. So I just put like a mental note in my head at the age of like 25, 26 that I don't really want to do this every weekend. I don't want to do this all the time. So I stopped around 25, 26. And even now, like I keep the same principle. If it's a happy moment in my life, I don't mind having a drink. So even now, I might drink maybe like 4 to 5 times a year. And usually that's basically if I'm going to a wedding or someone very, very close to me is having a birthday party or something like that. Then I'll have a couple drinks. And even then, it's like I used to drink and drive when I was younger. I used to just do a bunch of things that I should not have been doing. There are nights that I blacked out. I don't even know how I got home. So it went from that to like now I only drink if it's like a house setting. I make sure someone's driving me or I'm taking an Uber or something like that. And I don't really risk those type of things anymore. Hindsight is 2020 essentially. So everything back then looks very stupid to me now, the things that I did back then. So fast forward a couple more years, and mental health still wasn't at the peak of what it should be. I was still dealing with toxic people in my life, family issues, resolving certain things. So it all kind of hit a point last year, and I started actually going to therapy last year. So I started therapy, I want to say middle of last year, sometime in the summertime. I did therapy for like 6 months. It was definitely helpful to be able to talk to someone that is not your friend. Like, being a male and being a guy, you're very particular about who you share information with. There's always that feeling in the back of your head like this person might use this against you, so you don't want to share too much. And that's how I felt most of my life. So a lot of people that know me still don't know much about me. There's only very select few people that actually like fully know like all of me and all of the things that I've been through. So that was just a thing. And I started going to therapy, and it was very helpful. I learned a few different skills, a few different tools while going to therapy. And it was definitely something better for my mind state. It helped me understand the root causes of things, how I got to certain places. And it's helped me. I stopped going in about January, February. It wasn't that I didn't need it anymore. It was just like I was in a good place. I'm also trying to save to make certain moves and make certain plays, and therapy is not cheap. I don't know if insurance covers therapy. I didn't have insurance or anything like that, so I was just paying out of pocket. So that was like, all right, I'm going to save this money for a little bit. I'm feeling all right. I'm doing all right. So that was definitely a worthwhile play. I wish I had started going to therapy when I was younger, maybe like 23, 24. It would have been probably very useful, and my life probably would have looked drastically different than it does now. So that's kind of where my health journey started, how it got to where it was, how I was drinking every day and smoking every day, and just led to like, different decisions and different paths. I'm not mad at anything that's happened in the past. A lot of that built me to who I am today and how I'm able to deal with people, communicate with people, and understand people. So it's not, I don't consider it a terrible circumstances that happened. It was just life happened and you just push forward. But today, now, like as of right now, my mental health is doing really good. Every once in a while, I might not feel the best, but I always have to sit there. I remember who I am, and faith plays a big role. So my faith life, prayer, reading scripture, things like that definitely help in that process of just getting mentally stronger and better. As far as mental health is concerned, moving forward, a lot of that just deals more with my spiritual life. And I'll create a separate video of my spiritual life and how I went from being very close in the church all the time to not even going to church for years at a time and just fully away in sin doing things, and how I came back. But that's pretty much it. If you guys made it this far, I appreciate you guys for listening. Hopefully, I will be doing another video podcast kind of setup in the near future, talking about fitness and spiritual health as well. I appreciate you guys for tuning in.